Now, there are definitely some lies that maybe you say something today and then tomorrow your wife finds out, and now you're dealing with the aftermath of telling that lie. But think about the lies that you told years ago, and then you had to tell another lie to keep on moving that lie forward, and then moving that lie forward, and then moving that lie forward. You see how this adds up over time, and it destroys the trust, the confidence that your wife has in you the longest? That's a big deal. And if you don't take the time to really pay attention to what it is that you're saying and being honest, you're going to wake up one day and find that you really eroded the foundation to a point where there may not be much confidence left in you as the husband. You are listening to the Husband Coach's Corner, the podcast designed to teach husbands how to love their wife each and every day and become better men in the process. I'm your host, Chris Scott, and welcome back to another episode. Lies are probably one of the worst things that you can get into the habit of doing, and it's even worse when you get into the habit of telling your wife lies. And today, what we're going to do is unpack the reason why telling lies to your wife is just a terrible idea altogether. And hopefully by the end of this, if you are convinced that lying to your wife is probably one of the best things that you could do, hopefully you'll have a change of heart and a change of mind. Now, what I do want to tell you is one of the most freeing things you will ever have in your relationship is honesty. Obviously, that's the opposite of lying. The more honest you are with your wife, the better your relationship is going to be, and you'll get more intimate and closer. What lies typically do in a marriage is they destroy trust, ruin intimacy, and you likely forget them, which means it's a ticking time bomb that goes off at the most inconvenient time, and it just causes all kinds of catastrophe and chaos in your marriage that you never have to experience if you just didn't lie. So let's go ahead and dive into why lying is so bad and the impacts that it has on your marriage. As I mentioned before, lies destroy trust. This is something I always talk about, and so it shouldn't come as a shock when I say lies destroy trust. But when you destroy trust, you have a whole whirlwind of problems. Now, today we're going to specifically stay focused on lies and how they destroy trust. But just know that trust can be destroyed in other ways as well, but not as commonly as lies do. Just think about that. The most common way to destroy trust in really any relationship, but in your marriage, is telling a lie. But it's also one of the most common things that we do as men in our relationship. So the fastest way to destroy the thing that is hard to rebuild, we destroy with the most common thing that really has no benefit ever in our relationship. Let all of that just sink in for a moment. Lies destroy trust the fastest. Why is that? Mostly because they're the most common, but they're also the easiest thing to just let loosely fly out of our mouths so we don't have to deal with something else. Now, I will give the disclaimer. A lot of people will look at lies and say, okay, well, there's a simple white lie, and then there's like a super huge lie, like an affair or something along those lines. The truth is, all lies hurt your marriage and it destroys trust because it's not true. And as soon as it's found out that it's not true, even if it was a little white lie, especially if you're like, hey, no, I didn't spend any money last week, and then come to find out you actually spent $15, right? Now, that's an insignificant amount in some cases, and, you know, depending on your financial situation, that could be a significant amount. But if you had to lie about it, your wife is likely not going to trust you again on something else simple, like spending money on something that costs maybe $5, all right? especially if finances is a really, really sensitive thing in your marriage. So little white lies, they really do cause significant damage, just as much as a big one in some cases. And in other cases, maybe it just eats away at that foundation. Like, if you're into dentistry, the enamel on your teeth, it slowly gets eaten away by tartar if you don't take care of your teeth, right? So think of the white lies as you constantly not having a good dental hygiene regimen, right? Eventually, you're going to have the enamel on your teeth erode away, and then you won't be able to have a nice, beautiful smile. All right. Same thing happens in our relationship where we tell these lies and they accumulate over time and they start to eat away at one of the most important things of our trust is the foundation, right? Because we as the husband, we have to set that foundation and our wives need to be able to trust us. So if we're constantly telling them lies, man, you are very slowly backing yourself into a hole or a corner that's going to be extremely hard to dig yourself out of. So if you are one of these men and this is resonating with you, please stop telling lies. Now, lies destroy trust the longest. Why is that? See, because they're the most common, as I've already stated, they add up, as I already stated. So it happens over time. Now, there are definitely some lies that maybe you say something today and then tomorrow your wife finds out and now you're dealing with the aftermath of telling that lie. But think about the lies that you told years ago. And then you had to tell another lie to keep on moving that lie forward and then moving that lie forward and then moving that lie forward. You see how this adds up over time? And it destroys the trust, the confidence that your wife has in you the longest. That's a big deal. And if you don't take the time to really pay attention to what it is that you're saying and being honest, you're going to wake up one day and find that you really eroded the foundation to a point where there may not be much confidence left in you as the husband. And that's a really sad place to be. I've never experienced it, but I have witnessed many men who have experienced that, and they're going through that right now. So don't let that be you. Stop lying, and no matter what, how deep you are in the hole, if you just put the shovel down, you won't go any deeper. All right. That's just a little bit of wisdom for you. Take it or leave it. Now, lies, we already covered that they're the most common, but they're also the hardest thing to recover from, because when that foundation is eroded away and destroyed, as your wife is starting to find out that you have a lying problem, she may not come out and directly tell you that she is replacing that foundation with defenses. And eventually, you're going to find that your wife has all these defenses around her trust wall, if you will, or the trust that you're trying to gain. But because you lied so much and you destroyed that foundation, her new foundation is actually skepticism on you, or skepticism of you. Like if you say something, she doesn't even take that at face value. She's like, okay, yeah, there's probably a lie somewhere hidden in there. And if you find yourself in that situation, you're really going to have a hard time developing intimacy, because those holes, those become defenses to where your wife won't be vulnerable with you because you lost that trust. And it's all because of these lies. So hopefully you're starting to see how catastrophic lies in your marriage really are, because they don't help. They never do, ever. They may get you out of something for a little while, but the best thing, and I have tested this multiple times, the best thing that I could ever do in my relationship with my wife is to tell her the truth, even if it was one of the hardest moments that I had to go through. But at least once I let it out and I let her know what was going on, and we had that conversation and we went through our tough time, it was no longer me hiding something or it brewing in the shadows and eroding at that foundation. Instead, she knows that she can trust me, and I will confidently give her the truth instead of constantly lying to cover up for myself, right? So when we talk about intimacy, because the second thing is lies ruin intimacy. If you are a husband struggling to build intimacy with your wife and you're also a habitual liar, you are going to have the hardest uphill battle until you stop lying. All right. I don't know how else to say that. There's no like nice way of saying that. I just have to be real with you. You're not going to have a true intimate relationship with your wife until you stop lying. Now, the reasons for that are already given in the trust portion. But see, when the lies are found out, the intimacy built around your relationship starts to also fade. You see, the foundation, you start to put gaps in it, and then you build intimacy on top of that, right? So if you tell a lie and it's, keeping the foundation of trust with your wife intact, and then you start to build intimacy on that, well, as soon as that lie comes to light and she pulls that away and has to build a defense, guess what? That intimacy that you once had with her is gone. You see what I'm saying? Like lies, they're terrible. They are awful. And I think that that's almost an understatement. And I think it's clear where I stand with lies. Now, the other thing on intimacy, before I get off on a wild tangent, when you violate the intimacy, you dig a hole for failed trust even deeper. See, it's one thing to tell a lie and not have intimacy tied to it. But when your wife is vulnerable and you tell a lie in an area where she is extremely intimate with you on, and then it comes out that you lied, that hole, it goes like 2 times deeper into the foundation than if you told a lie about something that had no intimacy built on it. You see, the weight of the gaps that you cause in your relationship by telling a lie through intimacy, by telling a lie and intimacies on top of it, it just amplifies the hole that you're digging for yourself. So stop lying. Okay. Now, the last thought that I have when it comes to lies ruining intimacy, many of the lies we tell our wife are usually intimate in nature. You see, we usually lie about looking at other women, right? We usually lie about talking to other women. And I'm talking on the sexual side. Or maybe you'll lie to your wife about her appearance on something. Now, let me pause here and give a disclaimer. This is not me saying that if you find something wrong physically with your life or with your wife, that you need to be open and honest about it in a harsh and rude way. Okay. This is not your pass to be a jerk. What you can do instead is find an honest way to have a deliberate conversation and deliver your honesty with gentleness. Okay. Now, I'll also say that if you are finding issues with your wife's appearance, and those are, things that are really bothering you, then you really need to look inside yourself and figure out, why are these things bothering me? Because I married her. Now, over time and years, I get it. Our wives, they change, their figures change, and that can be a very sensitive topic for many, many people. But I want to encourage you that your wife, assuming she didn't go through some severe personality change, she's still the woman that you married. And if you only married her for her physical looks, then you probably already failed. All right. And I'm just saying that with truth, love, and honesty. You probably already failed because you married for the wrong reason. Okay. Now, getting back to ruining the intimacy and why that's such a big deal. When you lose intimacy, you start to lose that drive to make googly eyes at your wife. All right. Googly eyes is a technical term. Or you start to lose that drive to love your wife. Right. And when you start to lose that drive, then you start to back away, and it brings in the opportunity of temptation with other women. And this is where those lies and you end up making a bad choice, right? And then those lies lead to bigger issues in your marriage. So you got to chill. Stop the lying, okay? Now, the thing that always gets men caught up is we forget the lies that we tell, all right? I can't even begin to tell you how many times I forgot the lies that I've told my wife, and then she calls me on it. I'm like, oh, when did I say that? Oh, okay, I guess I did say that, right? And when you start going through your bank of all the lies that you told, and then you're thinking like, okay, well, no, I never said that, right? Because maybe you're trying to be honest. And then you're like, nah, I never said that. Here's what I actually meant. Well, that eats away at your credibility. And like I mentioned before, when we forget about a lie, it's like a ticking time bomb. And depending on what else is going on in our marriage, right? Because we're always working on multiple areas in our marriage. Maybe it's intimacy, maybe it's confidence, it's trust. Maybe it is finding time to spend with one another, finding the things that we want to do with one another, right? All of these areas that we're working on in our marriage, and then a lie comes up, and everything else that you've been working on, nothing has the power to backtrack from every other area that you've been working on in your marriage like a lie that is exposed. There's nothing else like it. And that's what I say, or what I mean by it's a ticking time bomb. You don't want those things to go off. You shouldn't even plant them. And actually what makes it worse is that you are the one who plants them, right? You're the one who's planting these time bombs. You're making your own landmine field to walk through. Think about how silly that is. You would never do that to yourself. You would never set up a landmine field and be like, you know what? I want to play Russian roulette with my marriage. Like, that just doesn't make sense. All right. So if that's you, stop lying. Now, hopefully that was an informative conversation. Maybe came off a little bit like a rant, just something that I have personally been witnessing with people recently is lies and how they're impacting relationships, marriage, and just relationships, right? Boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it may be. The key to maintaining trust is to be honest, and that goes with everyone, but being honest with your wife is absolutely important. Even if the truth is hard to hear, you still want to tell the truth. Don't hold back on the truth. Find ways to deliver it gently if it's something that is pretty harsh, but do it in love. Now, here's the deal. If you find yourself constantly having to deliver harsh, bad news because you don't want to tell a lie that you would have to cover up the harsh, bad news with, then you're probably a habitual line stepper when it comes to making bad choices. Now, if that's you, you should probably sign up for a free one-on-one consult with me. Check the description box below. I will walk you through some really cool drills, and essentially you get a month of free coaching from me just through signing up for one of those consults, and then we'll develop a plan and we'll take it from there. So if that's something you're interested in, go down to the description box and find that link to sign up today. Now, if you want to support the show, go ahead and use the donate link in the description box, or you can go to marriagedrills.com and you'll see the donation button in the upper right-hand corner of the website. I really appreciate all you guys who are listening. And until the next time, I want you guys to find a way to love your wife every day. Peace.